SCP-2317. SCP-2317 appears as an ornate wooden door, classified initially as Cater, then reclassified as Apollyon, uncontainable, unstoppable. This innocuous portal leads to a parallel dimension housing an entity known only as the Devourer of Worlds, an ancient cosmic deity over 200 kilometers tall, chained beneath a blood-red sky. With each passing day, the final chain weakens. Foundation mathematicians estimate complete failure within 30 years. Upon breaking free, the entity will enter our reality and systematically destroy all life across every dimension. No countermeasures exist. No containment is possible. The O5 Council has implemented Protocol 4000 issue, a comprehensive disinformation campaign, hiding the inevitable from even most Foundation personnel. We face a god that cannot be killed, imprisoned, or reasoned with, a testament to our cosmic insignificance. Some truths are too terrible to accept, yet the universe does not care for our acceptance. SCP-01, designated When Day Breaks, represents a K-class end-of-death scenario where sunlight itself becomes a vector for an incomprehensible transformation. Classified as an Apollyon-level threat, this phenomenon causes any organic matter exposed to direct sunlight to melt into amorphous, semi-sentient biomass that retains consciousness. These liquefied entities feel constant agony, yet seek to drag others into the light. They combine into ever larger amalgamations while maintaining the memories and personalities of those consumed. They call out to survivors in familiar voices, begging loved ones to come into the light and become one. Underground bunkers offer temporary refuge, but supplies are finite. The cosmic irony is devastating, our life-giving sun transformed into our extinction. It forces us to question if reality itself has fundamental instabilities we never detected until it was too late. SCP-5000. SCP-5000 documents the Foundation's inexplicable decision to exterminate humanity. Classification: neutralized, but only because we exist in a timeline where it failed. The artifact itself is a mechanical suit containing data logs from an alternate reality foundation that discovered something within human consciousness so horrifying, so fundamentally wrong, that genocide was deemed merciful. The suit's occupant, Pietro Wilson, traveled through a devastated landscape where Foundation assets deployed anomalous objects against civilian populations, while MTF units hunted survivors. SCP objects previously contained were weaponized. The Ethics Committee approved it all. The Foundation, our last defense against the darkness, concluded that humanity itself was the ultimate infection. Perhaps most terrifying is not knowing whether they were insane or absolutely correct in their assessment of our species. SCP-682. SCP-682 manifests as a massive reptilian entity with regenerative capabilities beyond scientific understanding. Classified as Cater, this entity has survived immersion in acid, nuclear detonation, temporal manipulation, and exposure to hundreds of other SCPs specifically selected for termination testing. Its primary anomalous property is adaptive regeneration. When damaged, it evolves specific immunities against whatever harmed it. It possesses intelligence far exceeding natural organisms and expresses one consistent motive: genocidal hatred toward all life, particularly humans, which it describes as disgusting. Multiple containment breaches have resulted in hundreds of casualties. The O5 Council has authorized all necessary resources to maintain containment, as termination remains impossible despite thousands of attempts. SCP-682 represents nature's ultimate rejection of humanity, an unkillable predator that exists only to destroy us, learning from each failure, growing stronger with every attempt to end it. SCP-055. SCP-055 is a non-existent entity classified as Keter, except it does exist. Its primary anomalous property prevents anyone from remembering its characteristics. Personnel can understand they cannot remember it, but cannot recall what they cannot remember. No photograph, recording, or written description remains coherent in memory after viewing. We know only what it isn't. Not spherical, not sentient, not safe. Its containment chamber requires constant rotation of personnel who must reread containment procedures upon entry, never comprehending why they're there. The existential horror of SCP-055 lies in the cognitive void it creates, a blind spot in human consciousness that might be exploited at any moment. It raises disturbing questions. How many other anti-memes exist beyond our perception? Is our understanding of reality riddled with holes we cannot perceive? There's something in that chamber, something important we've been trying to remember for decades. SCP-701, SCP-701, The Hanged King's Tragedy, is a Euclid-class anomalous play dating to 1640s Prussia. Any performance inevitably deviates from the script during Act 5, when actors and audience members enter a trance state and participate in mass violence and ritualistic suicide, culminating in one person being hanged while wearing royal regalia. Survivors report glimpsing an entity they call the Hanged King, a gaunt figure suspended from a noose yet still animate, watching from the theater balcony. Evidence suggests each successful performance strengthens an extra-dimensional entity's connection to our reality. Foundation. Theatrical analysts believe the play is not merely cursed, but functions as a mimetic infection vector, allowing something ancient to feed on collective trauma and sacrificial death. The tragedy is not in the script, but in our compulsion to perform it, again and again, across centuries of bloodshed. SCP-2521. SCP-2521 cannot be described in words or direct speech. Only pictograms and abstract representations are safe. This Keter-class entity is attracted to information about itself. It manifests to collect any written or verbal description of its properties, along with the writer or speaker. It appears as a tall, thin silhouette composed of constantly shifting black ribbons. Surveillance footage shows it taking information about itself with almost loving care before disappearing with it to an unknown location. Subjects who speak about it vanish entirely. The Foundation has confirmed at least nasbirualer disappearances of researchers who attempted documentation. Current containment protocol requires all information be conveyed through simple drawings and symbols. The philosophical terror lies in confronting an entity that weaponizes our fundamental need to understand and communicate. Knowledge itself becomes dangerous, and language, humanity's greatest tool, becomes a fatal liability. SCP-3999, SCP-3999, classified as Apollyon, was a reality-bending entity that tortured Foundation researcher Talaran for millions of subjective years while simultaneously destroying, recreating, and warping baseline reality. The documentation itself is fragmented, contradictory, interspersed with personnel files, containment procedures for non-existent SCPs, and desperate pleas from its author. SCP-3999 represented pure chaos, an entity that rewrote reality at whim, created paradoxes, and subjected its victim to endless deaths and resurrections. The file concludes with Talaran somehow neutralizing the entity through an act of absolute will, sacrificing himself in the process. Meta-analysis suggests the file might be reality's attempt to contextualize an incomprehensible cosmic event, the momentary intersection of our universe with something beyond conceptual understanding.
Subscribe for more interesting stuff. Tell us your experience in the comments.